This vineyard belongs to me now. Amanda's voice echoed through the ancient cellar, bouncing off rows of carefully aged wine bottles. You don't even drink wine, Isabella. What's the point of you keeping this place? I stood among the oak barrels my grandfather had imported from France decades ago, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. My sister-in-law's smug expression was illuminated by the soft cellar lighting, making her look almost ghoulish as she waved a stack of papers in my face. I've already filed the paperwork, she continued, her designer heels clicking against the stone floor. Since you've been absent from family gatherings and haven't shown any interest in the vineyard, I'm claiming abandonment. The property will be mine within weeks. My name is Isabella Santos, and at 34, I was watching my sister-in-law try to steal my grandfather's legacy. What Amanda didn't know was that while I might not drink wine, I'd spent the last 10 years secretly preserving and building upon everything my grandfather had created. You really think it's that simple? I asked, keeping my voice calm as I ran my fingers along the rough wood of a nearby barrel. The familiar texture grounded me, reminding me of countless hours spent here with my grandfather, learning everything about winemaking while pretending I was just keeping him company. Amanda laughed, the sound sharp and hollow in a cavernous space. Of course it is. Everyone knows you only got this place because you were Papa Santos' favorite. You don't know the first thing about wine. I'm doing the family a favor by taking over. If only she knew. Every weekend for the past decade, while everyone thought I was working overtime at my consulting job, I've been here, learning, working, preserving. The vineyard's recent success wasn't just luck, it was the result of countless hours of dedication and careful planning. You might want to hold off on those renovation plans you're probably dreaming up, I said, walking toward the temperature control panel my grandfather had installed 30 years ago. I'd upgraded it last summer, but kept the old interface as a facade. Just like everything else here, appearances could be deceiving. Oh please, Amanda scoffed, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing dismissively. I've already spoken to developers. This place needs modernizing. Those old methods you and Papa Santos clung to are outdated. We're going to turn this into a proper commercial operation. My stomach turned at the thought of bulldozers ripping through the carefully tended vines, of concrete walls replacing the hand-laid stone my grandfather had selected decades ago. Each grape variety had been chosen specifically for this soil, this climate, this terrain. Amanda saw dollar signs. I saw my grandfather's dream. Did you ever wonder, I asked, moving toward the small office tucked away in the corner of the cellar, why Papa left the vineyard to me instead of your husband, or you, or anyone else in the family? Amanda followed, her heels echoing more urgently now. Because you manipulated him, obviously, always playing the perfect granddaughter, pretending to be interested in his boring stories about soil composition and grape varieties. I couldn't help but smile as I unlocked the office door. The small room was exactly as my grandfather had left it, down to the old desk calendar still showing the date he passed away. But the computer humming quietly in the corner was new, as were the certificates framed on the walls. What's all this? Amanda demanded, stepping closer to read the frames. This, I said, gesturing to the first certificate, is my degree in viticulture and enology from UC Davis. I completed it online while working overtime at my consulting job. And these, I pointed to a row of awards, are the medals our wines have won over the past 5 years under my management. Amanda's face paled slightly, but she quickly recovered. Anyone can hang fancy papers on a wall. It doesn't prove anything. I sat down at the computer, typing in my password. You're right, but the Heritage Registry does. You see, 3 years ago, I registered this vineyard as a protected historical estate. Every grape variety, every building, every production method is documented and legally protected. You can't change a single stone without approval from the Heritage Committee. You're lying, Amanda hissed, but I could see the uncertainty creeping into her expression. I'm not. And there's more. I pulled up the vineyard's financial records, decades of careful documentation my grandfather had kept, seamlessly merged with my own digital systems. Every bottle we've produced, every sale, every award, it's all here, along with proof that I've been actively managing this vineyard for the past decade. The color drained from Amanda's face as she looked at the screen. Years of production data, sales figures, and international recognition scrolled past. Our small vineyard hadn't just survived, it had thrived, all while maintaining my grandfather's traditional methods. But you don't even drink wine, she sputtered, her earlier confidence crumbling. No, I don't, I agreed, standing up. But Papa taught me something more important than tasting wine. He taught me about legacy, about preserving what matters. Every weekend I spent with him here, every story about soil and grapes and weather patterns, it wasn't just about wine. It was about understanding what makes something truly valuable. I picked up a bottle from my grandfather's last vintage, one I'd been saving for a special occasion. You see this? Papa made this the year before he died. He knew he was sick, knew he wouldn't see another harvest, but he still took the time to teach me everything he knew. Not because he expected me to drink it, but because he trusted me to protect it. Amanda stood silent, the papers in her hand forgotten. Through the small window, I could see the sun setting over the vineyard, casting long shadows across the rows of vines my grandfather had planted with his own hands. The Heritage Registry will be contacting your lawyer tomorrow, I said quietly. I suggest you withdraw your claim before things get complicated. This vineyard isn't just property, Amanda. It's a legacy, and I won't let anyone destroy that. She opened her mouth to argue, but the sound of footsteps on the cellar stairs stopped her. Martin, our master vintner who'd worked alongside my grandfather for 30 years, appeared in the doorway. Miss Isabella, he said, nodding respectfully. The new batch of Cabernet is ready for your inspection, and the Heritage Committee called. They'd like to feature our traditional methods in their next publication. Amanda's face flushed red as the reality of her situation sank in. Without another word, she turned and stormed out, her heels clicking furiously against the stone floor until they faded into silence. I picked up my grandfather's old ledger, its pages worn smooth from years of use. Inside the cover, he'd written a note to me just before he died. To my dear Isabella, sometimes the finest things in life aren't meant to be consumed, but preserved. Guard this legacy well. And that's exactly what I intended to do. The morning after my confrontation with Amanda, I arrived at the vineyard to find her Mercedes parked in the gravel driveway. She wasn't alone, my brother Michael was with her, his face red with anger as he stormed toward me. What's this about you threatening legal action against my wife? He demanded, waving his phone at me. I could see Amanda hanging back by their car, her designer sunglasses hiding her eyes but not her smirk. I didn't threaten anything, I replied calmly, unlocking the main gates. I simply informed her of the vineyard's legal status after she tried to claim ownership. This is ridiculous, Isabella. Michael followed me as I walked toward the main building. Amanda told me everything. How you've been secretly running this place behind the family's back. How you've probably been embezzling profits. We're going to demand an audit. I stopped and turned to face my brother. The morning sun was just hitting the vineyard's eastern slopes, illuminating the rows of vines in golden light. This was my favorite time of day here, but now the peaceful moment was shattered by family drama. An audit? I couldn't help but laugh. Go ahead. Every penny is accounted for, every decision documented. But before you waste everyone's time, you might want to ask your wife why she tried to claim abandonment when there's 10 years of proof showing my active management. Active management? Amanda's voice dripped with sarcasm as she finally joined us. Please. You're just a consultant who got lucky inheriting this place. You don't know the first thing about running a vineyard. Martin chose that moment to emerge from the wine cellar, carrying a stack of papers. Ms. Isabella, the Heritage Committee sent over the final documentation for next month's Traditional Methods Showcase. They're particularly interested in your restoration of your grandfather's original fermentation process. I took the papers, noting how Amanda's smirk faltered slightly. Thank you, Martin. Could you also bring out the visitor logs? My brother seems to need proof of my involvement here. Michael's face reddened further as Martin returned with a thick leather-bound book. Every weekend for the past 10 years, Martin explained, opening the book. Ms. Isabella has never missed a harvest, never skipped a planning meeting. She's expanded our distribution to 3 continents while maintaining Papa Santo's traditional methods. That's impossible, Amanda cut in. She works weekends at her consulting job. Everyone knows that. I smiled, remembering all the careful planning it had taken to maintain my cover. The consulting job was real, but the overtime was just an excuse. Every weekend I was here, learning everything I could from Papa and Martin. I didn't tell anyone because I knew how the family would react, just like you're reacting now. But why? Michael asked, his anger giving way to confusion. Why keep it secret? Why not just tell us? I gestured for them to follow me into the cellar. The morning light filtered through the small windows, casting warm patches on the stone walls. This place held so many memories, Papa teaching me about temperature control, explaining how each type of barrel affected the aging process, showing me how to test the grapes for perfect ripeness. Remember when I first started coming here with Papa? I asked Michael, how you and Amanda used to mock me for spending time with the old man instead of going to parties. How you said I was wasting my time learning about dirt and grapes. Michael had the grace to look uncomfortable. We were young then. Yes, we were. But your attitudes never changed. When Papa got sick, neither of you visited him here. You were too busy with your careers, your social lives. But I saw how much it meant to him that someone cared about preserving his life's work. I opened the cellar's temperature control panel, revealing the modern system hidden behind the vintage exterior. Every improvement I've made here honors Papa's methods while adapting to modern standards. The Heritage Registry protects his legacy while allowing us to compete in today's market. Amanda stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the stone floor. That's all very touching, but it doesn't change the fact that this place would be better off with more experienced management. Michael and I have business degrees. We could turn this into a real operation. A real operation. I felt my patience wearing thin. Let me show you something. I led them to the small office, pulling up the Vineyard's financial records on the computer. Last year, our traditional Cabernet won gold at the International Wine Challenge. Our export revenues have tripled in the past 5 years. We've been featured in Wine Spectator twice, specifically highlighting our commitment to traditional methods. Michael leaned in, studying the numbers with growing disbelief. These profits, they're real? Every penny, I confirmed. And they're achieved while maintaining Papa's vision. No mass production, no modern shortcuts. Just careful, traditional winemaking the way he taught me. But you don't even drink wine. Amanda burst out, her composure finally cracking. How can you possibly understand what makes a good vintage? I picked up an empty wine glass from my grandfather's old desk. You're right, I don't drink. But Papa taught me something more important than tasting wine. He taught me to understand it. To respect the process, the tradition, the craft. Every bottle we produce tells a story of the soil, the weather, the care taken during fermentation and aging. I held the glass up to the light, watching it sparkle. You see wine as a product to sell. I see it as a legacy to preserve. That's why Papa left the vineyard to me. Not because I was his favorite, but because he knew I would protect what matters. Michael sat heavily in Papa's old chair, running his hands through his hair. All this time, we thought you were just... I don't know what we thought. You didn't think about it at all, I said quietly. Just like you didn't think about Papa in his final years. You were too busy planning how to modernize this place once he was gone. Amanda's phone buzzed, breaking the tense silence. Her face paled as she read the message. The Heritage Committee, they're sending someone tomorrow to investigate my ownership claim. Yes, I nodded. They take attempted hostile takeovers of protected estates very seriously, especially when there's documented proof of active management and historical preservation. Isabella, Michael started, but I held up my hand to stop him. Save it. You have 2 choices now. You can continue with this failed attempt to take over the vineyard, wasting everyone's time and money on legal battles you can't win. Or you can accept that this is my responsibility, one that I've proven myself more than capable of handling. I walked to the office door, then turned back to face them. Papa used to say that great wine can't be rushed. It needs time, patience, and respect for tradition. The same is true for understanding why he made the choices he did. When you're ready to learn, really learn, about what this place means, come find me. As I left them sitting in the office, surrounded by evidence of my dedication, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The secret was out now, for better or worse. But one thing was certain, my grandfather's legacy was safe in my hands. 3 months after the confrontation in the cellar, I stood among the vines during our annual harvest. The Heritage Committee's investigation had been thorough, leaving no doubt about my rightful ownership and management of the vineyard. Amanda and Michael had retreated to their city life, their attempted takeover nothing more than a fading memory. But today was different. I watched as Michael, dressed in work clothes instead of his usual business suit, carefully examined a cluster of grapes under Martin's guidance. You need to feel their firmness, Martin explained, demonstrating the technique Papa had taught me years ago. The color isn't enough. It's about the texture, the slight give when you press them. To my surprise, Michael had shown up 3 weeks ago, alone and humbled. I want to understand, he'd said, standing awkwardly in the cellar. I want to know what Papa saw in this place, what he taught you. Now, watching him learn the basics of harvest selection, I saw glimpses of the brother I'd known before ambition and Amanda's influence had changed him. Isabella, he called out, holding up a cluster. Is this what we're looking for? I walked over, examining his selection. The grapes were perfect, just as Papa would have chosen them. Exactly right, you're getting better at this. His face lit up with genuine pride, so different from the arrogant confidence he'd shown during the attempted takeover. I never understood before, he admitted, carefully placing the grapes in his collection basket. All those years, I thought Papa was just stuck in the past with his traditional methods. But there's a science to it, an art. That's what he tried to teach us, I said, leading him to the next row. Every decision here is based on generations of knowledge. The modern world hasn't made these traditions obsolete, it's made them more valuable. As if to emphasize my point, a small tour group emerged from the main building. The Heritage Committee's feature on our traditional methods had sparked interest from wine enthusiasts and historians alike. We now hosted weekly tours, sharing Papa's legacy with people who truly appreciated it. Ms. Isabella, one of the visitors, called out, "Would you mind explaining why you chose to maintain the original fermentation process instead of upgrading to modern equipment?" I smiled, launching into the explanation Papa had given me years ago. As I spoke, I noticed Michael listening intently, nodding as the pieces fell into place. Later that evening, as the sun set over the vineyard, Michael and I sat in Papa's office. The harvest logs were spread across the desk, his neat handwriting joining Papa's careful records. "Amanda served me divorce papers yesterday," he said quietly, tracing the edge of an old wine label. "She said I'm choosing dirt and grapes over our future." I waited, letting him continue. "The thing is," he went on, "being here these past weeks, learning what Papa taught you, I finally feel like I'm part of something real, something meaningful. Amanda never understood that." I reached into Papa's old desk drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. "He wrote this for you," I said, handing it to Michael. "Asked me to give it to you when you were ready to understand." With trembling hands, Michael opened the letter. Papa's familiar handwriting filled the page. "My dear Michael, if you're reading this, you finally found your way back to the vines. I always hoped you would. The legacy I built isn't just about wine. It's about family, tradition, and understanding what truly matters in life. Your sister understood this from the beginning. Now it's your turn to learn. Don't regret the time lost. Just remember that like the finest wines, some things can't be rushed. They need time to develop, to reach their full potential. Take care of each other. And remember, the vineyard's greatest strength isn't in its soil or its grapes, but in the love and dedication we pour into it. Love, Papa." Michael wiped his eyes, carefully folding the letter. "I've been such a fool," he whispered. "No," I corrected him. "You just needed time to be ready. Like Papa said, some things can't be rushed." Standing up, I walked to the cellar's small wine vault. Behind the regular stock, in a special cabinet Papa had built, lay a single bottle, the last one he ever made. I'd been saving it for the right moment. "I don't drink wine," I said, placing a bottle on the desk. "But Papa always said this one should be opened when the family was whole again." Michael stared at the bottle, understanding its significance. "Are you sure?" I nodded, handing him Papa's old corkscrew. He made it for moments like this. As Michael carefully opened the bottle and poured himself a glass, I watched the deep red liquid catch the last rays of sunlight through the cellar window. I didn't need to taste it to know it was perfect. Papa had made it with all the love and wisdom he poured into this place. To Papa, Michael raised his glass. "And to you, Isabella, thank you for protecting his legacy until I was ready to understand it." Looking out over the vineyard, I felt Papa's presence more strongly than ever. The vines stretched into the distance, each one a testament to his vision and the traditions he passed down. Through all the challenges, his legacy hadn't just survived, it had flourished. And now, finally, our family had too.